Okay, here goes nothing. First of all, we saw a new map. This dry and sandy map was honestly a little difficult on the eyes to start off with, but getting a little fed up of that Gamescom build, I'll take anything at this point. The map did include non-square park limits though, similar to Jurassic World Evolution and most likely just in the campaign mode of the game. It seems like the map's boundaries will flow, giving you just that extra another level of challenge. First up, we got another look through the path system. Again, it just looks incredible, and I don't think we'll really truly be able to know the possibilities until we actually get our hands on it ourselves. But honestly, at this point, I can't believe I'm saying it, I think we need to move on from the paths, guys. Although they did show us a little bit about what that brush button is, I thought it might just be like a paintbrush that you can paint down paths similar to how you paint terrain. Actually, I think it's closer to like an eyedropper tool where you can repaint over a path that's already down with a different texture. They also showed off a path deletion tool. It kind of seems incredible that after moaning about all of the little gaps in the paths as we try and make plazas in Planet Coaster 1, we get excited about a thing that can make gaps in paths. But this will be a great way of making little blobs of scenery without having to worry about guest collision. They then place down a pool and show off that the features for drawing a pool are very similar to these paths. Again, really nice, but we've kind of seen this now. They did place down a few buildings, one of which is a pool pass building that you can purchase a ticket to go into the pool, and the other one being a changing room so that people can change into their swimming outfits. There were some really nice little bits of scenery on these. There's these small little hanging things, there's a really nice plain door, there's some crates, and just lots of little bits of detail. I very much hope that these small hanging things aren't attached to that roof piece there. I don't expect each of these to be their own individual thing, but a couple of these little hanging motifs, that kind of thing is going to be super useful. They then place down a flume. I want to talk about flume for a second. I also use the term flume, and I assumed it was a British term for water slides, but I've had since British people tell me that no, they've never heard the word before. Maybe it's like even more regional than that. I don't know. At flume, if you said to me, what's a flume? I would say it's this. What's a log flume? Oh, it's this, but with a log in it. Same thing, right? Anyway, they built this flume and they showed off some really interesting supports. It generates an initial beam with like cantilever supports that then add on as they continue making the flume. This looks really great. I would be interested to know whether or not I can move this sort of central support once it's placed, because it does start quite a bit far out from the slide. Or maybe if you did a tighter corner on the slide, would it replace itself to have it central to the circle there? Again, until we really get our hands on it, I don't think we'll know. But really interesting support system. Looks great for a pre-generated support. I actually think it looks pretty spot on. And the same with the towers. They showed you could have the stairs in. You can either just add an entrance point at the top of the platform, or you can have stairs coming down to an entrance point at the bottom of the platform. Either way, people will travel up and ride one of the flumes. Later on, they add a second flume in here, and the people just get to the top of the stairs and decide which one they're going on. Super realistic, really great feature. Although I do have my new nitpick that I can focus on. Now we have ride runouts and like fixes to paths or something. These gates, please, please let me turn these gates off. Please have this as a feature I can turn off. Tiny little thing here, but the color selection has the color name hover as a tooltip. Probably not useful for a lot of people, but for somebody like me with a color efficiency, this is absolutely great. I will try and use hex codes and color palettes online to get nicer color usage in the game, but sometimes I just need a red, and now the game tells me this is red. Perfect. Next up, they add a little bit onto the pool just to show how easy that is, and they show the option that doesn't have paths onto it. They call this an infinity pool. I guess if this is raised off the ground, it's just like a sheer face, like an infinity pool in a fancy hotel. But here it's just a pool with no real discernible edge. My favorite thing about this is as they place it down, it just freaks this one guy out. This guy just cannot cope with the miraculous pool that's just appeared before him. A little later into the demo, a few people have came to check on him to see if he's okay. And by the end of it, I can only assume he's now the leader of this small cult of the miraculous pool. Next up, we place down some animatronics. First up, we see these singing eels. They look like a lot of fun. And Fish Beastie. I kind of love Fish Beastie. Yes, he has a large platform on the bottom and really obvious hydraulics underneath him. But let's be honest, this is a huge improvement from this. Even without item scalability in the game, I really hope that this is a trend that we see as they move forward now, and we see less of the just ridiculously unusable pieces and stuff that is just a little bit more oversized just for a simpler aesthetic. Added down in front of Fish Beastie are some water spout effects. These seem greatly improved to me, to be honest with you. The draw distance are a lot better. Often these would disappear as you got closer to them in the original game, and the particles in general just seem a lot more improved. And then we see the new event sequencer. So the event sequencer was a part of Planet Coaster 1, but it really was a little clunky. It just had numbers. Now you actually have a timeline that you can look at, drag things around. Apparently this is really similar to the Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 Mixmaster, I think it was called, but I wasn't playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. I was out kissing girls. That's not true, my computer just couldn't run it. But this is really great. You can move them all around now. It still does have some number input. It'd be nice if we could just drag the lengths of these for how long we want them turned on and off. But overall, this is a really great improvement. The sequencer can not only trigger animations on animatronics or the special effects on or off, it can always turn lights on and off. And they even said that anything that has color changing, like the special effects fire or some lights, I imagine, you can actually change the colors with the sequencer as well. So that's really, really awesome improvements. My biggest improvement on all of this, though, is the fact that a single animatronic has multiple animations and you can select which one you want to animate from a drop-down list. This is fantastic. One of my biggest gripes with the original game was that they would overinflate part numbers by showing the same animatronic 5 or 6 times that just did something different. Now it seems that you'll have one animatronic and you select roar, rise out the water, wobble about, rise out the water, wobble about, and roar. Top stuff. Next up, they showed off the scenery brush. We had already spotted this in a menu previously, but now we actually got to see what it looked like, and it really does look pretty useful. You can select from a pile of presets that sort of break them down into types of tree or types of biome. There also seems to be rock presets there as well, but it also looks like you can make your own brush as well. Now, whether or not we can just apply any single item to this brush and spam it around, I don't know. How useful that's going to be, I don't know either. Honestly, as neat as this feature is, I don't know whether necessarily going to be used a lot by detailers. It might be really useful to throw some trees around the edge of a park for screenshots and what have you. But let's be honest, most of the people who are getting excited about this are still going to place each individual tree, like the anal and retentive nerd that they are. It is worth noting this is a work in progress build. It does show this scenery brush is currently at 5% intensity. I can only assume if this is 5%, then 100% is the day of the Triffids. Nice topical reference for you there. One really slight but very neat feature while they were moving an item with the advanced move tool, in fact it was a palm tree specifically, it actually showed you how far you'd moved it in meters on the ground. Just a little thing, but I think this is going to be really neat if you're looking at placing stuff every so often, things like lamps or benches or special effects to fire off water chutes or something in a fountain. It's just really neat to know that you are the correct measurement away from each one so that it lines up and looks good when you zoom out. Next up, they went on to show a coaster getting built. As they did that, we got a look through the menu and saw lots of new types. I think I talked about this in a previous video, but I love the fact that they've taken real-world manufacturers and come up with similar sort of copyright safe names. It really reminds me of the old Football Manager games before they had the license where you played as like Liverpool Blue. Anyway, there's loads of new coasters. I'm not really a coaster head other than that I enjoy riding them, and the fact that there are real world names converted into fake names gets me very confused. So here is just a list of everything that we've seen so far, put together by people who are much cleverer than me on Discord. Whilst you take a look at these, I'm going to read how some of them sound to me. Bubo and Fahrenheit's Taint Max, Dr. Lumpkin's Purple Pumpkin, Intravox Hyperdangler, Froopschlauer Half Drop, 4-seater variant, and Keith. One's just called Keith. They also finally, officially, and without any sort of pomp or circumstance, announced switch tracks. Here's the actual footage so you can see how that went.
Special pieces such as switch tracks and drop tracks. Special pieces such as switch tracks and drop tracks. Switch tracks and drop tracks.
They talked a little bit about some more improvements to smoothing features, but didn't actually show that happening on stream still. But you can now adjust the smooth strength, the direction of smoothing. I assume that means when you click smooth, it moves forward or backwards, which is a very popular mod for the original game. So that's great to see that taken on board into the main game. And the type of smoothing as well, whether you just smooth the turn or just the banking or just the height again. Stuff that's happened in Planet Coaster 1, but they're telling us this is improved. And finally, they spent almost 2 minutes putting down a pineapple. This footage has been sped up 5 times. So this deep dive was entitled Endless Creativity, and I really felt that that would come with a lot more showcases of the sceneries and the sort of rides that really use those sceneries, such as dark rides or track rides, whatever you want to call them. But I guess they are saving those for a later day. Almost everything we've asked for improvements on has happened. The events so you can set the paths, switch tracks. This might not have been a mind-blowing showcase of new stuff, but the more I see, the more I realise that we're just in safe hands, and they are taking all of our feedback on board. Sorry, that kind of measured feedback doesn't do very well on YouTube, does it? Rah rah rah, this game sucks, where's the dark rides? Bring back Street Fox Coffee. Thanks for watching, till the next one, be good,